Now, Robinderji, Professor Madhav Nalapar also spoke about the magnitude of the attacks. Israel literally has been caught napping. Now, they have the Iron Dome, they also have the foolproof barricading, border fencing with multiple cameras. How is it? How is it that something like this was not preempted? Does this mean that possibly there could be some sabotage, the systems were hacked? I mean, what possibly could have gone wrong?
Oh, thank you so much. A pleasure to be with you and with the esteemed panel. Absolutely. See, there are two things to it. One, on the face of it, it's a failure of Israeli intelligence, one. And second, it's a failure of Israeli border security. If folks are driving across their fences and borders, instead of having 10 soldiers and 10 tanks, have 1,000 tanks, that's something to be, investigated in hindsight. But that also reminds us, no matter how fail-safe your systems may be, 90% and beyond, you cannot prevent enemy interventions. Even the US air defense systems, with respect to the Russian nuclear strikes, for example, hypothetically, will not be able to prevent more than 90%. So some percentage gets through. That's the irony of life and fact of science and technology. So Israel will go back to the drawing table and all world armies and militaries to investigate that. Now, a couple of bullet points quickly. Why now? One, apart from everything else, right now the Saudi-Israel normalization was being talked about with American help and some concessions to the Palestinians. What this has done has torpedoed that Saudi-Israeli normalization. So either Hamas by design or Hamas instigated by Iran by design or coincidence would have the effect of torpedoing the Saudi-Israeli reconciliation. Next point you mentioned, very interesting bullet, hostages. Forget how many killed and all. The last time I think you mentioned, in 2006, there's an example. 1 or 2 Israeli soldiers have been kidnapped and in exchange, Palestinians have been released. In 2006, 1 soldier of Israel, in exchange, 5 years in prison or kidnapping by the Hamas, 1,100 or 1,027 Palestinian prisoners in Israel were released. So if this time, as reported, there are 30 or 40, and Hamas at the outset today morning, there were reports that they said we will kidnap and take. So if they've taken 30 or 35, will it mean down the line, whenever, it'll be an exchange of 40 into 1,000, 40,000 Palestinian prisoners or 10,000 or whatever? Those will be the calculus going ahead. But yes, no doubt, Israel will strike like a hammer. The complication for Israel is that you can strike like a hammer, but when you strike like a hammer in a dense location like the Gaza, you're going to kill civilians. And that will rile up the whole, virtual other issues. So Israel will go ahead with the hammer in the next 2, 3, 4 days, but that will be a huge, blowback that Israel will have to face. Lastly, perhaps, modus operandi bullet point, new modus operandi, gliders used, apparently. They're coming through the land, gliders. We've heard of drones in the Ukraine war, right? Who've taken on a new life in warfare. Here you have cross-border gliders with fighters landing into your territory and being terrorists. It will benefit Russia also, as Professor Nalapar said. China, of course, but Russia also. The reason being, a fundamental divide, ideological question will come up. Ukraine is under occupation by Russia. The West supports that, right? Here, the Palestinians are under occupation by Israel. Nobody disputes that. The West is supporting the other way around. So this will open up. And lastly, for the West Asian countries, it will be a very delicate cookie to handle. It will be tough. The UAE and the monarchy, see, for them, geopolitical interest and gaming may be one thing, but they are monarchies. They need their own domestic supports. They are based upon Islamic, citizenry. For them to step away without or not empathizing, I'm using the word, not sympathizing, empathizing with the cause of the Palestinians would be blasphemy as per their citizenry. So the UAE, all of those who have signed up these accords, UAE will play very safe, and not only safe, they will, let's see what their statements are going to be. Bahrain, even Saudi, Oman. So all of this is going to give rise to divides further in the world order of today and tomorrow.